more iPad reactions, and the Apple Pencil controversy. This is MacVoices. Today's edition of MacVoices is supported by Zocdoc. Find doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. Download the free Zocdoc app at zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Welcome to MacVoices. This is the talk of the Apple community, and I'm Chuck Joyner. Folks, the MacVoices panel is back to continue our discussions of all of the new iPads. We get into the power of the M2, we get into the Apple Pencil controversy, and a whole lot more. Let's go back and let the panel do the talking. Kelly, you brought up something that, in that Stage Manager. Stage Manager feels like, that at least, we should have mentioned this right up front, that there's about 8-10 minute video that you can go and watch that introduces the new iPad. And it does a pretty quick little nice job of introducing it. And looking at that, it looked more like, especially if you connect an external display, that this now has more what we would all think of as Mac-like capabilities.
Yes.
And so none of us have had their hands on this Stage Manager unless you have run the betas, which I don't know how many of you have. I have not. So I'm anxious to see how it works in the real world. But it feels like we're inching closer to that.
Yeah, being able to have multiple windows open in whatever sort of stacked layout you have, just like on your Mac, the way you can do that. Like, I don't need it to be Mac OS on an iPad, and I don't need iPad OS on a Mac. I love that they're separate. It makes me very happy that they are. I have very, very strong opinions about interfaces and interaction mechanisms and what those should be. And I don't want a touchscreen computer because I don't want Apple to half-ass the fingertip interface in Mac OS, or half-ass, which is how it was until they took it seriously, the mouse capabilities on iPad OS for people who want and need that. It sucked rocks for so long. And I was mad on behalf of people who wanted to use a mouse because it was such a terrible experience. And then it got better. And this, honestly, Stage Manager is a thing that should have come in like iOS 13, maybe even iOS 12. It's not like the processor didn't have the oomph, sorry to be technical,
horsepower
to do exactly that. And that's the thing that most people have been waiting for. So like, you can have two apps open at the same time on each half of the window was like part of the way there. And it just felt like you are so close to where everyone else was 3 versions of iPad OS ago. Please just give us the actual thing. And now it's here. And I really hope that lots of iPads will be able to do it. I think all the iPad Pros will, or at least a bunch of them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what that looks like in the real world, because that's a fundamental mechanism of macOS that I take for granted on my computer that I really, really, really notice is missing when I'm on my iPad. And so I'm really hoping that that I will be able to get my hands on that. And I believe they said October 26th.
4th.
Yeah.
24th.
24th.
Okay.
4th.
Okay.
Yeah. End of October.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that. I will say I was almost grumpy at the video because it felt like it needed to be like a 15-minute video, because they could have delved a little deeper into each of the things that looked really interesting. And they were still only going to show us 8 seconds of the new iPad with its interaction, because it still looks like it's the first gen iPad Pencil, which I think is really dumb. Which is one of the things on my list I wanted to talk about was, why is it still a first gen Apple Pencil? Like, mostly because that charging mechanism is perilous to both the iPad and the Pencil. And I find that really baffling. Like, I get that you did all the R&D and so you want to sell that thing as long as you can, but come on, like, do better.
Yeah. Eric, you're sitting up there in the corner, kind of quiet. And Prisha, I think you said you had some interest in a new iPad. Which iPad and why?
The Pro, and oddly enough, because it didn't change very much. So I've got one I use now. In fact, I have talking on it right this second. but it's my personal machine, and I'm finding that I'm using it more and more places at work. And from a security standpoint, it's not appreciated. So I need to have a separate work machine, and I don't want it to be so different that it's noticeable as I go back and forth between them. So I was really happy that they came out with it, and it didn't change a whole lot. So, I've got a covering I drop over the top so that when I'm writing it feels different on the pencil, and, that should still fit. Everything else should kind of go. The keyboard should be similar. I didn't want change, and it looks like I'll be able to be happy with what they came out with.
Okay. Jeff, you just dropped in something into the chat. You want to enlighten everyone?
Sure. I figured as long as I was sitting here, I might as well do some research. Okay, so the iPad models that will support Stage Manager, the 11-inch and newer iPad Pro, and the third gen. So I'm sorry, first gen 11-inch and newer iPad Pro, third gen and newer 12.9-inch iPad Pro. So that's like for the 12.9-inch that goes back to 2018, and for the 11-inch that goes back to 2020, I think.
Okay. Yeah. And I just want to put in a pitch for upgrades, because I have had this conversation recently with more than one person, and that is, remember that if you don't have an M, like today we're talking about the M2 iPad Pro, and if you have an M1 iPad Pro, going from the M1 to the M2 may not be a gigantic upgrade. That's fine. But if you don't have an M1, then you're getting every bunch of upgrades that happened between whatever you have and the M2. So you're getting the whatever all of those other things are. You're getting a better camera, you're getting the camera on the side, you're getting this, you're getting that, you're getting all, you're getting to move to USB-C charging, depending on how far back we're talking. It goes all the way up, and you're getting every single one of those upgrades if you pull the trigger on the M2. So that's, it's the same sort of thing as an iPhone. Like, if you don't have an iPhone 13 right now, then you're getting everything from the 13 and everything from the 14. And if you go back even further, you're getting everything from the 12 and everything from the 11. And so, you're getting like 5 new phones at once, if you go back that far. And with the iPads, it's the same sort of thing. So maybe you're getting more camera and USB-C charging and no more home button and. So it's a thing to consider if you're looking at perhaps pulling the trigger on an upgrade. How many devices worth of upgrades are you getting in that one? So it's just a thing to consider as you sit down and try and figure out what may or may not be on your Christmas list.
David, I want you in, but I want to apologize to the chat room. This is the second time we've had this, somebody coming in promoting an adult dating site, and I've reported them, I've kicked them. And I would encourage anybody else that wants to report them in the chat, please do, because this will help.
I just
it's unacceptable. It's just it really does bug me. I don't know how they get in here on this. David, I think pre-show you said that you weren't compelled.
I'm not compelled because I went from a 2020 iPad Pro 11-inch, and then I moved up to the M1 that I currently have. I've been very pleased with its performance. Very pleased with what it's doing for me. I just don't see a huge jump going between the M1 and the M2 processor. There might be a couple of compelling things, with the pencil changes they've had with it, but for the most part, I think this is still a very decent iPad. I've got 2 others that I have that I've been using for a while. I still have my original 2015 first gen iPad Pro 12.9 inches, still works fine.
Yep.
As a mighty beta testing device, and I also have a 2018 12.9 inch iPad Pro, which is still a very good, and then that will work with Stage Manager, that particular one. So So as far as what I've got in my arsenal with this stuff, it's perfectly fine. But the 11-inch, I've always liked the 11-inch. I think it's a good point in the size. 12.9 is nice. I would take the 12.9 and start watching movies like, oh my God, this is kind of nice to have this bigger screen. But then I go back to the 11-inch. It's like, I like it. But, I think this M1 that I have now is going to be fine for another year. I'm being a good boy this year. I didn't do the watch, and now I'm sticking out on the iPad too. I think this will be a smart move, and I can wait till next year.
So it's October 18th. I'm still betting by the end of the year you'll have the watch. Maybe not the iPad, but the watch.
If it's a watch, I obviously really like the Ultra, but it's expensive. But
very pricey.
That's a very pricey watch, and that's another story.
Yeah. So I mean, frankly, I didn't realize the time we gotten this far biased. I definitely wanted to go though to the other end of the line, and see what your thoughts are on the bottom end, because this seems to be, there's a bump in price, and a few other bumps. And David, you seem to have strong opinions on that.
Yeah, I mean, I can talk it firsthand because I was working on a quote today. We're looking to buy a particular department's looking to buy iPads, and I told them I got the email like yesterday. I said, you know what? I know you want to get the entry level iPad, but I think you might want to wait because the new iPad's going to be probably coming out tomorrow. And sure enough, it happened. So I went through the debate between the 9th gen and the 10th gen as far as is it worthy? Is the price jump is going to be the big thing? I think the biggest thing that stood out. You're going from $329 for the 9th gen to $449 for the 10th gen. Is there really a good reasoning? Do you really want to spend that extra money? Because I was kind of surprised that Apple stuck out with this low end model, but I kind of see how they were doing it too, because Christmas time you're gonna see discounts again for that 9th gen for $299 and $289, just because to entice folks that in the entry level arena with iPads, we're coming with that. So I also found interesting that with the iPad Pro, the iPad 10th gen is the keyboard. They have a Magic Keyboard for $249. I mean, for the kind of money you're going to spend on that, why not go up to the iPad Air or even the iPad Pro M2 where you can get a lot of that stuff. Yeah. But I know Jeff's going to have thoughts, and I think we're all going to have thoughts, is this gosh darn Apple Pencil. Why in the heck did they, and Kelly as well, why in the heck did they stick with the Apple Pencil 1st gen with the Lightning connector? And oh, by the way, we're going to provide you with a Lightning to USB-C adapter. I mean, what was Apple's thinking on that? I just don't get it.
Because it worked, and basically there wasn't a huge market for it. Well, so until the pencil becomes more a thing that people want to use with their iPad. Right now, people just kind of look at it as, oh, I can draw with it, but I can use my finger as well. So until the pencil becomes more ubiquitous with using an iPad, there really wasn't, other than the connector. I agree with you on that. I think Apple at this point, there's absolutely no reason why they haven't gone USB-C across the board.
The word you're looking for is asinine.
Yeah, but to make a bunch of changes and come out with a new pencil that's not going to work with all of the iPads that came before it just didn't make sense. But now that they're all becoming pretty powerful. I mean, you even look at this new iPad. It's got the A14. It's got a bigger screen. For $449, this is. The only reason why I wouldn't jump on something like this is that I need more storage, and you're limited to 256.
Yeah, that's the max, and they're still offering 64, which is another crazy thing.
Which is insulting.
Yeah.
So, two things real quick about the plain old iPad, as I call it. I think Apple engineered themselves into a corner. I think the whole reason that the actual Apple Pencil, which, by the way, has a number of things going for it. One side is flat, so it can't roll off your surface, which is awesome. That's an easy way to charge without dangling off the bottom and screwing up all the ports or whatever. Like, first of all, there's still Touch ID on that iPad because they engineered a way to put it in the little button on the side, which is awesome. There was an engineering magic trick that made that reality so that they had, way less physical space to work with, and we're still able to do enough Touch ID to make that a thing so that it's still a Touch ID iPad, which is great. And I was super excited about that. Right. And so why couldn't they have done something like that with the pencil so that it was easier to charge in some way? That would have been really nice. But I'm also very grumpy about the colors because I guarantee you none of those colors are the same colors as the iMacs that say that there's those colors. There's yet another shade of melon farming blue from Apple that isn't the same as anything else that's ever been blue from Apple before. It's unbelievably frustrating. The Pro still doesn't come in any colors, which I was mad about the first time. I bought one anyway because I really wanted the processor for the I wanted the inside, so I didn't care so much about the outsides. But silver and black is not an option. And why can't I have something that is Pro hardware and colorful? I mean, the M2 comes in midnight, which is friggin' gorgeous. Why can't I have that in an iPad? Oh, right, because we can't make two things that are the same color. Anyway, I'm okay.
No, it comes in colors as long as you like silver or black.
No,
Well,
no,
it's like the Model T.
But also, they priced themselves into a corner because the Mini is $499, and the iPad, that great big iPad, is $329, and the Mini is $499. I too was working on a quote just this week for somebody who's looking for a bunch of them, and we went, well, the Mini is an option because it's a nice small device and it'll do what we need it to do. Well, you'd think that, wouldn't you? But it's almost it's $140 more, whatever, dramatically more for a little tiny iPad as opposed to the great big iPad. So I think they priced themselves into a corner and had to do something with the iPad to turn it into something that was much more in the neighborhood of the stuff that they were already putting out.
Today's edition of Mac Voices is supported by Zocdoc. Find local doctors who take your insurance at Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Going to the doctor is seldom fun. What makes it even less fun is when you need to see the doctor but can't because they don't take your insurance or can't give you an appointment for 6 weeks. When you need to see a doctor, you need to see a doctor. That's why you need to know about Zocdoc. Zocdoc is a free app that shows you doctors who are patient-reviewed, take your insurance, and are available when you need them. With Zocdoc, you can find the right doctor for you in your network and in your neighborhood. One that makes you feel like you're in good hands, that you're supported, and that you are heard. That's important in almost anything, but it's extra important when it comes to your healthcare. Go to Zocdoc.com/MacVoices and download the Zocdoc app for free. Then start your search for a top-rated doctor today. Many are available within 24 hours. That's Zocdoc, ZocDoc.com/MacVoices. Zocdoc.com/MacVoices. Thanks to Zocdoc for their support of Mac Voices.
I'm just going to tell you the quick story of my wife's new iPad Air, which ties into this story here. So, as you know, about a week ago, I bought my wife an iPad Air to replace the new iPad Air to replace her iPad 3 that with 32 gigs of RAM memory. So, got her the iPad, opened it up, set it up for her. Got her a keyboard off Amazon for about $100. Nice. She loves it. Okay. It's all good. So I posted it on Facebook. Dave said, you may want to wait because, blah, 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 the event. I'm like, listen, she's upgrading from 3 generations at this point. So it's good. And I got it for $520. So, so we're talking right now, you could get the iPad Air 64 gig, the latest model, that's out, for probably about $520. So the question was, when this happened, is there any reason at all that I should return it and get one of these basic iPads? Because the colors, right? So the colors is one thing, it's cheaper. It does everything she would need to do. She likes the colors. And Kelly, so my wife got a purple. I got her the purple iPad Air. We opened it up. She's like, it's not purple. We looked at it. it's there's literally I couldn't see any
Like the
purple on the
iPhone.
back.
It's not really purple. Like the iPhone. It's not really purple.
There was no purple. And
Yep.
I'm looking at it and she looks at it. She's like, that's not purple. I'm like, I swear I ordered you the purple. And I'm looking in the box. It says purple. And I'm like, well, I guess it's not a matter of sticking in the case anyways. But that was obviously this is, I'm assuming, gonna come at least sort of colored. Kind of looking like the picture of the color of it. So anyhow, I think unless there's a reason that there's no reason for me to swap it out between this and the iPad Air she got.
Maybe storage would be the only thing that I would say.
It's the same. No, it's the same, right? It's 64 gig. Exactly the same.
She never filled it up, sounds like.
Oh yeah, I can't. Okay.
Yeah, it's the same.
I thought the new iPad came slightly bigger than the Air, but I guess not. So
I'm staring at it. Yeah, it's 64 or 128. It's exactly the same.
Yeah.
You know, I would want that keyboard for her, and that's another. I mean, it's not as somebody else said. I mean, Dave said, $200 and change for $200 and change for a $400 machine, right? That's kind of steep for that, I think. So yeah, so it's her. You know, if it was my money, like if I bought it and like you know. Maybe, right? Maybe I would return it, get the extra $100 and, you know, and have this one, but you know, she already okayed the purchase. So I'm just going to let it be. So
what's the processor in the one that she has?
It's the latest, whatever. It's the M1. So it's the latest iPad Air.
The iPad Air is not M1.
Yeah. The Air is an M1. It's the 8-core.
The Air is now. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The last Air is an M1. This is, what is this? This is not, so this one has a weaker processor, right?
This is A series, yeah.
Yeah, it's still the A14, I think.
So the Air I got her, again, back to our initial conversation is, you know, watching Hulu is not going to matter between, you know.
No. Yeah.
Right. So
now, if she's making movies that are showing on Hulu, that's a different conversation.
No, the only reason she got the upgrade, guys, is because she ran out of room on her 32 gig iPad. Literally is 100%. She would have kept it until it cracked and died. But she, you know, she's traveling and she wants more movies, and that's how I convinced her to finally do it. So that's her use case, obviously, is putting,
and that's a legitimate reason to upgrade. You know, is the storage.
So I thought about, you know, I have the flash stick, right? You could, but you know, you could put the Lightning thing into an iPad and get some extra storage, and you could put movies on there too. But you can't. See the
conversation we just had about the Apple Pencil.
Right. Well, that would bother her, but she would do it. But you know, you can't download Hulu shows, as far as I could tell, legally at least. So I mean, I could torrent. Seriously, I mean, that was an option. I could torrent a season of whatever she wanted and put it on that, but I didn't do that. So we went this way.
Jeff, you're up next.
Okay. So, all right. When we look at the new iPad, to me, it looks like someone took crazy pills and then designed the thing. And when I look at something Apple has designed, and I think someone was stoned, it tells me that Chaffin's razor comes into play. And this is Brian Chaffin's belief that if something seems crazy to us, there's a critical piece of information that we don't have.
Missing.
And in this case, the critical piece of information we don't have, I believe, is how people are using the devices. And Apple does have that. So here's what I think has happened that led to some weird decisions that we're looking at now. Okay, so Apple Pencil, I believe, is actually a very popular accessory and gets used a lot, but not on every iPad model. And so I think on the base iPad model, Apple Pencil isn't as popular, but Apple has found that people are using that device for communication a lot. So how do you address that? Move the camera where it makes sense so that now we have an iPad that gives people a feature that they use more on this specific device. But now we end up with our engineering corner that we're stuck in again, because you can't do an Apple Pencil 2, I'm guessing, and have the Apple Pencil 2 on that same device because we don't have room for all the pieces. So you don't stop offering Apple Pencil support on an iPad. So what do you do for this one? You keep Apple Pencil 1 support because we already have a port to plug this in. So how does Apple address that problem? And for those that are listening and not watching, Kelly just pantomime putting her Apple Pencil on the
short side.
On the short side, the problem there is now you're covering speakers.
Well, it doesn't have to be on a speaker end. I mean,
well,
like,
either
something like that would be the kind of engineering thing that I would say would rank up there with the Touch ID button. Like, we took a thing that we know how to do and we tweaked it in order to get the home button off the screen. You know, that kind of thing. Like,
sure.
I was really hoping for that sort of, you know, like maybe half measure to come for the Apple Pencil. So that was the thing that I was sort of confused by in that.
Which makes sense, sure. But if people aren't using an Apple Pencil that much comparatively on this model, why do all the extra engineering to support Apple Pencil 2?
Right.
So what Apple, I think, did instead was listen to us when we were all saying, how could Apple possibly make this connector any worse? And they went, hold my beer. And then they decided to throw in the USB-C to Lightning adapter for the Apple Pencil 1 and give us a vastly inferior experience to what we already had for charging that pencil.
Jeff, okay, so for the sake of everyone, me included, correct me if I'm wrong. I think I have this right. The Apple Pencil 1 charges by Lightning, and that's the one that you had to stick into the bottom of the iPad to charge.
Right, this one right here.
Okay.
So you have this sticking out the side of your iPad when you're at the coffee shop, and you look like a total dork.
Okay.
In the box, there is a little adapter that's a Lightning port on both sides. So you could plug the cable into one end and the pencil into the other and charge it with a cable like a reasonable human being. Why they didn't just take the Audi and make it an innie so that you use the same port as your friggin' phone is still baffling to me. That even would have been a thing I would have given them credit for. But no.
So, okay. So you threw me, Kelly. Hold on. So that was the Lightning. The Apple Pencil 2 was the one that you can just put on the edge of the iPad and charge.
Right. That's the one like this but you can't see because it gets blown out, but kind of here. This is a flat edge.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And that connects to the magnets on the side, of the iPad.
Okay. So David, go ahead.
And that's probably another thing I'm thinking about with Apple. Maybe they didn't want to put the magnetic charging into the 10th gen iPad. You know, that's an extra expense. You know, they're reducing the cost, keeping it at $449. If they were to add that, then they're competing against, you know, like an iPad Air or an iPad Pro, because those two models have the Pencil 2 with the magnetic charging, and that's where the problem is. This pencil will only charge magnetically. It cannot charge any other way. So that's what my thought was as well, thinking, well, maybe Apple's thinking, well, we kept the cost down. If you want a pencil, you can get it, but we're going to make you go through a few hoops to get it charged.
Put the dorky Lightning thing on the end of the second gen and make everything use the second gen pencil. Like, that's the thing that really baffles me, is from a manufacturing perspective, why are you still making two when you could be making one? And that's the part that I don't get from a logistical perspective on Apple's side.
From a logistic perspective, this is basically free now.
Well, yeah,
for Apple. And if they already have it and they don't need to change anything else to make it usable on a lower price device, there you go. That's just free for Apple.
And for the record, I think that the new iPad, plain old iPad, is a great device for a lot of people. And I'm a little disappointed in the price jump, but I think it's worth it. You get significantly more storage and all of that, you know,
screen size.
Well, you get dramatically more screen size. You do get, like, if you have an older iPad, you will get more storage.
The storage is the same, really. And if you go to 256, it goes nuts. So you got two options.
Right.
You got a 64 at the base, and then you pay $600. So make that choice.
So like Cletus is saying, he has a 2017 iPad in the chat room, and so like if he goes and gets the new plain old iPad, it's going to be an awesome device for what he wants to do. So, and I know a number of people who would be very well served by getting one of these new devices as a Christmas gift. Am I going to be the person responsible for that? No, but that doesn't mean it might not happen. And I do get a lot of people who ask about, recommendations for Christmas gifts and things. If only there was somebody that like put out a series of episodes of like a podcast or something that like was, here's some cool gift picks that people could use. Chuck, you should get on that.
Yeah.
Santa Claus.
So that's like, I think it's a great device. Like I am very frustrated by the colors because I think it's stupid, and the dorky Apple Pencil charging is still dorky, and it drives me up a wall because it's not elegant. And that's one of the things that Apple is always about, is like, having this really clean interface, this really nice usable thing, this, new way. Like sticking your thumb on the button on your phone to unlock it was mind blowing at the time. Like it's that kind of aesthetic stuff that we always look for, like a clever way to do something that makes your life a little better. And charging your pencil out the bottom of your iPad is not one of the things that makes anybody's life better. If you are that person, please send me an email, because I want to find out that I'm completely wrong and there is somebody out there that is improved by this, because I'm fascinated by you, whoever you are.
Okay, so wait, Kelly.
I think the iPad is a great device, and I'm really excited to get to recommend that to people who are in the market for something like that. That's really where I was trying to go with that. I'm not hating on the iPad, just the colors.
Okay, but I want to go back because I'm trying to get the pencil straight. Okay, so everybody just bear with me for a second. Yep. So we have the Series 1 that charges by Lightning. We have the Series 2, the Apple Pencil 2 that charges by
induction.
Induction on the side of the iPad.
Magnets.
All right. So this is where I got a little confused today in some of the coverage. So do all the iPads support the Apple Pencil 1? I thought that was one of the issues, that at some point it was dropped.
No. So just the iPad 10th and 9th generation were the ones that had supported it. Beyond that, if you went up to the Air and above, it was all the Pencil 2. Mm-hmm. So really, we were down to just one model at one point. Now we have two models that still support the Pencil 1.
Yay!
So do they sell the Pencil 1?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
At this
$99 too.
Okay, and they sell the Pencil 2.
Yes.
That one's $149.
There's a $50 crayon, by the way.
You could buy the Logitech crayon. They have that.
The Logitech crayon is great.
That's a different discussion. That's not part of this discussion. What I'm trying to figure out is Apple's, if there's a logic to, because I thought Dave brought up a really good point. That things are that if you make all the features down at the lower iPad, then there's going to be fewer reasons to buy the Pro models,
or the Air for that matter. They still want to keep they're still marketing the Air. The Air is an M1. So now if you look at it, we got A14, then you go to the Air with the M1, then you go all the top end at the M2. So they've really spread out the line in iPads to give it there's something for everybody when it comes to going from the bottom end all the way up to the top end.
That is the thing I'm glad about, is that they are different now, because there was a stretch where it was really confusing to figure out what you wanted. And the thing that worries me is that somebody who is not us, or talks to us, or listens to us here, walks into the store and says, I want a brand new iPad. I want the latest iPad and I want the latest pencil, doesn't know any better, gets the wrong pencil. And, it's a gift for somebody, and now they can't use it because that pencil doesn't work with that iPad. And that's, like having it be this weird compatibility matrix thing that you have to do now is the part that I wish they could get away from.
And I guess from where I'm sitting, and I think I'm trying to hold it all in my head, because I was not an Apple Pencil fan until recently. Because then I found a use case that made perfect sense for me to use it, and it's terrific. But I have to wonder, Jeff, your comments about and I think you and somebody else you and Guy, I think were debating, is it a widely used accessory or not? I think it's one of those things that for the right person, it is. But a lot of us are not that right person, or we haven't found the use case that's the biggest part of it. Yeah, that we can't do with our finger or with some other alternative. So that's where I'm trying to understand because there has to be a logic to this. I mean, Apple just doesn't do stuff stupid. It may not fit our aesthetic.
iPad sucks. Sorry.
No. Apple doesn't do stupid stuff. They have a reason. May not be a reason you like, may not be a reason you agree with it, but they have reasons. So that's what I'm trying to understand here.
Right. And in this case, I can't find one. That's the reason that's my reason.
I'm thinking my logic kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Yours is pretty good, Jim.
Maybe they have 100,000 Pencil Ones in stock that they need to unload. One thing nobody's mentioned, if you buy a low-end iPad and a pencil and then later get an Air or a Pro, you've got to buy a new pencil. Your old pencil is trash, basically.
And that is why I use the same keyboard with all my iPads and have used the same keyboard with all my iPads, because I don't buy the one that's specially designed to go with that iPad. I have a Bluetooth keyboard.
Right, but you have a choice for the pencil. Yeah. No choice.
Right.
Exactly.
So if you have a light... Oh, sorry. Who was that?
I was going to say, what about for younger kids? Because for younger kids, a lot of schools are going for the Logitech Crayon. That's the original pencil technology. So if you upgrade those, then that crayon doesn't work. Then you got all of these kids with, the small pencil for their hands. That's no longer available. So you want to be able to keep the iPads available for schools and younger kids. You need the first generation pencil interface.
The one last thing I wanted to clarify. So, and Kelly, you alluded to it, that the iPad, the Pencil One with Lightning charge can be charged with a Lightning cable. Not to be smart about it. Can the induction pencil be charged like with a MagSafe or anything, or is it strictly you have to have an iPad that will charge the pencil?
You need an iPad with a magnetic side. The end.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. There is on Amazon. I saw somebody has a case that will charge it just for the pencil.
Really?
It's like a little pencil case. Yeah. And it latches. I mean, it's like $30, so it's you'd have to really want it.
So we don't know what kind of technology is it. Mags, like they figured out what charges it.
Yeah, so. I don't know. And Chuck, one of the things, the pencil charger, you can't use it with a Lightning cable unless you get a little adapter, because it's an Audi. So it's designed to plug into the original iPad, and it won't plug into this new iPad because the new iPad is USB-C, not Lightning. So they've now added also a $9 adapter that will allow your Pencil One to plug into this new iPad, and it's required.
But it is included with Apple Pencil.
Yeah, you get one in the box with the Apple Pencil, just like you got the old adapter with the Pencil One. Yes. I looked because I couldn't believe that they were doing the first gen pencil. So I went and looked, and the first gen in the box comes with a USB-C adapter. Yeah.
Okay.
But that just came out today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but their specs for the product, it's in the press release also.
Yeah.
List that the USB-C to Lightning charger is included with the $99 purchase. But if you need more, which you will because you're going to lose them, they're $9 a pop.
In the next edition of Mac Voices, the panel wraps up our discussion of the new iPads and the Apple Pencil controversy, and start taking a look at the new Apple TV and what its capabilities are. That's all next time on Mac Voices. We'll see you then. Until then, and as always, I'm Chuck Joyner. Thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, Consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CacheFly at cachefly.com.